We're up, and let me start playing the track. Waiting for all the streams to start. We are on Facebook. We are on LinkedIn. We are waiting. YouTube is just slow these days. I don't want to upset it. Okay, here we go. Let me find the opening music for the show before we go nuts here. Okay. Dance with me.
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Thank you to the wonderful voice of Ryan Treasure for introducing me. I'm Radio Red. We're here. It is Monday, August 11th, and my question is, where is the year going? I thought New Year's Eve was about 12 minutes ago, and here we are at the end of this week. We'll be at the end of the middle of August, and I just can't believe how fast it's going. Must just be me. Before I introduce my guests, we haven't even rehearsed this. Let's see how you do guests. I want you to put up one hand in the shape of the letter L, please. And you're going to follow me, my lead. And on the count of three, we're going to say hello and happy birthday to LLL. And I'll tell you who that is in a second. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to LLL. Let's try it one more time. It'll be my mistake. Hello and happy birthday to L. 1, 2, 3. Hello and happy birthday to L. Jordan, give them an A and 2 gold stars for trying. That was pretty good. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener. She is not listening tonight because her boyfriend took her away for a long birthday weekend, but her birthday was August 9th, and she will hear the replay. And I wanted to say happy birthday. She's very dear. And when she does listen, she sends me a little report, Marcel. She would tell me at 6:01 p.m. Eastern time what Marcel said on the show and what Debra said and what Armida said. And she still might do it on Monday when she gets back from her trip. Today is August 11th. It's the 223rd day of the Gregorian calendar. And anybody have a birthday in early October, Marcel or Armida or Debra? Well, if you did, when we were in the Julian calendar, you wouldn't get your birthday most of the time because October, Marcel knows, it disappeared, the beginning. And Gregorian came around. He said, there's something wrong with this calendar. I better fix it. So he came up with a leap year every 4th year and added that leap day. Of course, if you're born on February 29th, you got a problem anyway. So that's why the October people got their birthdays back. 142 days left to the year, 32nd Monday. Nobody cares about that except me. Today is Steve Wozniak, age 75 years old. He's the one who co-invented the Apple computer with Steve Jobs. There you go, Woz. Joe Jackson, the singer and songwriter, is 71. Viola Davis, the wonderful actress from, so many, and How to Get Away with Murder. Happy birthday. She's 60. And Chris Hemsworth, Be Still My Heart. He's playing Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's 42 today. And I have to tell you all, if you like hip hop music, today in 1973 was the birth of hip hop. It was. And I'll tell you what happened. I'm going to tell you, and you won't believe this. A kid named DJ Kool, Kool, Herc, Herc. Clive Campbell was his real name. He held a party in a community room in a building, an apartment building in the Bronx, New York, 1973. And he's playing music and he's having a good time. And then he gets 2 turntables and he takes the same song and he puts them on both. And you've seen DJs do this, okay? He stops at the drum part and he isolates it and he extends it from one turntable to the other. And that's called the break beat. And that becomes the foundation of hip hop music, believe it or not. And then he starts talking to the dancers. That was the beginning of rapping. So happy birthday to the birth of hip hop. And on this day in 1980, Johnny Cash sang a duet with Miss Piggy on The Muppet Show. We're just going to leave that alone. So I like this research. I do it all the time. So let me start and let me introduce my guests properly. And when I call your name, just wave and smile, please. So here we go. Welcome to Cool Conversations with Creatives on our virtual stage, where sparks of insight meet unlikely muses that we engage. akaRadioRed leads the way on her Scarlett mic bright, hosting The dedication of creativity, today's episode, for her live streaming flight. Armida Espinoza, Dr. Debra Palmer, and Marcel Vögeli gather round, sharing experiences and insights where inspiration is found. No blah, blah, yada, yada. We're here for conversation and play. Tune in, watch, or listen, and make us part of your day. And now here's the special parts. Okay. Armida Espinoza's first. The youngest of six, with a heart open wide, Armida grew strong by her family's side. Her parents worked the fields with courage and grace, while love lit their home in a humble space. A bachelor's in sociology first paved the way, then a master's in education brought a brighter day. From kindergartners to second grade, Armida taught with care and built programs so families could learn and could share. At 50, Armida paused to help her sister in need. Then she launched a Hispanic theater to plant culture's seed. Her book, Brave Loliste, Learns English, shines bright and true. Success! She sold 9,000 copies, and more dreams are in view. Armida, I hope you enjoyed that.
Oh my God, I'm in tears. Thank you.
Well, don't
That's
let it blur.
lovely.
I'm glad. Don't let it blur you when you're talking on the show. Dr. Debra Palmer is next. From Duluth's chill winds where lilacs would grow, Debra learned young how resilience can show. A mother in her teens with her nursing dream clear, she studied, she pushed, she conquered her fear. Debra's care touched lives in each patient's place. Degrees stacked high, LPN to PhDs in grace. From critical care to Guatemalan lands, she healed with her heart and her capable hands. Then she launched a new path, bold and distinct. Wellness advocate, author, and speaker succinct. She penned Between Wounded and Well to inspire and heal. In gardens and ponds, Debra found peace that was real. I hope.
Wow.
Did we nail it, Debra?
You nailed it.
I'm glad. I worked with Sylvie on that. And then Marcel is with us, born Dutch, raised Belgian, a watcher of truth. Marcel saw life's elephants early in youth. From lilac bush hideouts to five tongues in play, he chased work and wonder in lands far away. At 13, Niagara's roar called his name, Marcel, Marcel, Marcel. Its whispers of freedom forever aflame. In Turkey, a crash broke his body and pace. In Cuba, illness carved symbols he wanted to trace. Then he found in Christiane Berland's wisdom a key, that pain holds a message for those who will see. Now a poet, a guide, and life's code translator, Marcel helps others heal, grow braver and greater. Marcel?
Wow, Red. You have such a beautiful gift of making people instantly happy.
I like that instantly. So let me finish up here. So gather round where the cool vibes and the cool kids sway as we dive deep into creativity today. akaRadioRed's energy lights the way. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. And that's my opening. So how did I do, kids? Pretty good?
Wonderful.
You nailed it.
I'm glad. I'm
Wonderful.
glad. So the secret is I take all of your bios and I asked for a lot more. Marcel, I asked you for all the details, and Armida and Debra, I got hundreds of words, and I give them to my good friend Sylvie, who sometimes writes to me in French, and I have to remind her that I don't speak that well, but I can read enough, but I can't read that well on the air. And then I'll say, en anglais, s'il te plaît. And she creates the poem. I tell her, this was 12, these were the longest. I usually do 6 or 8 lines. These were 12 lines, 3 stanzas, 4 lines each. And they have to rhyme. And sometimes I don't like the rhymes. And sometimes I come back and I say, no, you missed that part of Marcel's bio. You missed this in Debra. No, we want to put more in about Armida's, whatever it. Oh, I go back. I'm having a cold conversation with her. You can understand that. Debra, you get it. And then she'll rewrite it. And then I'll go back to my notes. And then sometimes I just end up doing it myself because I've written over 700 poems on my own before I met Sylvie. Debra, there was a place in yours where the line was, she launched a new path, bold and distinct, wellness advocate, author, and speaker, succinct. I came up with distinct and succinct.
Ooh.
I didn't like what she had said. So there you go. So I'm very glad you like it. And I get the final tweaking of the rhymes and the language and the coverage of your life. So I'm very, very glad. So what I'd like to do now is there's no way in 12 lines I could cover your entire creative path. So let's start with Armida. I'm going to put you on speaker view for a couple of minutes. So I'm not going to take you off when the time's up, but take 2 or 3 minutes. And why don't you fill in some of the gaps for us? Because we'd like to get to know you a little more. So officially, welcome to Read My Lips. Armida, go ahead.
Thank you, my friend. Yes, so I am the youngest of six, and although my parents did work in agriculture, I always tell people I feel so blessed because I had a roof over my head, food on the table, and parents that loved me and cared for me. And also, I always tell everybody, and I was so grateful that there were social service programs available because we certainly benefited from them. And so I had an amazing childhood. And yes, I went into teaching. And in the end, that was my last career. And um, I am married, have been married for 49 years. I have three little furry friends. And yeah, so I feel very blessed with that. And so now I get to write children's books and go around to the schools and share with the children and parents and educators. And so I feel very blessed. And so I so appreciated being here. And so thank you very much for having me.
You're very kind, and I can tell from the kind way you speak and the way you gesture that your students and their families are probably very happy to know you too, Armida. So thank
Thank
you,
you.
dear. Thank you. Deborah Palmer, you're up next. And Deborah, putting you on speaker view, officially welcome, and we love to know more about you, whatever you'd like to share. Deborah, go ahead.
Thank you, Red. So I'm the oldest of 8. I've been married for 46 years to my childhood sweetheart, which followed a failed teen marriage. I have 3 adult children and 2 beautiful granddaughters. I launched my career as a registered nurse in the intensive care unit and decided to move on to wellness. And I was mentored under Dr. Vincent Folletti, the principal investigator of the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, when I became a nurse practitioner. He continued to influence me personally and professionally for many years. Following that, I had a wonderful career for 25 years working under 18 orthopedic surgeons as one of the first nurse practitioners in an orthopedic department, covering patients in the hospital, making rounds in the operating room, in the clinics before and after surgery, in the emergency room, setting fractures and admitting patients. It was exciting and wonderful experience. Following that, I did have a short tenure as a professor of nursing for registered nurses wanting to get a bachelor's degree and for nurse practitioner students. And as you said earlier, I've started a business. I'm just launching it now. And to get that off on the ground, I decided to write a memoir, which you shared, Between Wounded and Well, Lessons in Healing. The interesting part of my book is that it's frameworked is the 4 stages of wound healing. And at the conclusion of the book, I realized there are 4 stages to healing emotionally and spiritually, and that all healing happens every day in the reciprocal giving and receiving of one another's gifts, talents, and skills. So thank you so much for inviting me today.
That was lovely. What a career you've had. I'm so impressed. I'm going to bring myself up a little higher so I'm on a par with all of you. I'm so impressed with the people I meet at the Publicity Summit. That's where I met all three of you. The acumen, the history, the passion, the creativity. And that's why and Marcel, I'll get you in just a second. That's why I've named this episode The Dedication of
Mm.
Creativity. I have to pick a different word every week, and I've been doing this show for years, and I do about 50 a year. I'm running out of words, kids. So I don't think I've ever named it The Dedication, but I could tell from Armida and Deborah so far, and I know Marcel as well, the dedication is just, it's there. And that's different from spark and inspiration and muse. This is once you know you're a creative, dedicating yourself to bringing that out and sharing it is a whole other thing. On that note, Marcel, welcome officially. I'm putting you on speaker view. I love that orange shirt. I want it. Okay, let's hear more from you. Welcome.
Hi, Red. It's so good to be here in the show. I promised you the orange shirt, remember?
Yep, yep.
And I totally agree with you about dedication, that it is actually a very important source of being creative. Now, who am I? This morning, as a scent of cinnamon mingled with my coffee, I felt unmistakable spark of joy. The sense of a new day unfolding with possibility. I am someone who treasures these simple moments because they remind me of the deeper threads that are running through our lives. Now, professionally, I am recognized as one of the leading experts in the life philosophy of Christian Beerland, a visionary often called the Louise Hay of the lowlands. As an advocate for her work and her legacy, I strive to help people decode the symbolic origins of life's events, empowering to understand not just what happens to them, but why. And my mission now is to guide others towards greater self-awareness, so that each person can reconnect with their authentic self and consciously create their own life. Now, every day I live a little more self-aware, a little more rooted in meaning. And that is why I find joy in something as simple as cinnamon in my coffee in the morning.
I love it. I put cinnamon in my breakfast shake sometimes, Marcel, and I can taste it and smell it. Or ginger, just a little
Or
tiny
ginger. Ooh.
hint of ginger. And I have a breakfast shake with 8 ounces of 1% milk and a couple of slices of unsweetened frozen strawberries and a banana, either a small one entirely or half of a large one. They have to be just ripe. If you all go to Food Lion in Loudon, Tennessee, and you see a woman with red hair who spends 20 minutes in the produce department looking for the perfect 9 bananas, guilty. That's me. Because I have to make them last the whole week. And they can't be too green or they leave a funny taste if they're too green. And they can't be too mushy because they'll be yuck by the end of the week when I go back to the store. So that's me. But once in a while, I'll put a little dash of cinnamon or ginger in with a little raw agave syrup. And it's really good. And that
No.
scent. It's almost like going. Didn't IKEA used to make cinnamon buns? Wasn't that what they were famous for in the bakery in IKEA? Remember?
Yes,
And
they
the way
do. They
do
do.
they? Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you for that cinnamon. By the way, I want you to tell me and the ladies and the audience how you ended up at age 13 taking a trip to Niagara Falls. That was in something I asked you to explain because
I know.
not too many 13-year-olds can do that on their own, girls. I could call you girls. I'm a girl. Go ahead, just
Well,
very briefly. Go ahead.
when I was 10 years old, I did the dishes with my grandmother. And, let's say she liked a little drink every once in a while. And she told me, well, Marcel, little Marcel at the time, you know, I'll give you a little trip. And little bald Marcel in Belgium at the time, 10 years old, said, well, I would love to see Canada. And she said, I'll promise you. And she did. And she bought me a ticket to Canada when I was 13 years old. Now, I do have to add to that my aunt and uncle were living in Canada, in Ontario at the time. So that made it, of course, a little bit easier. But there I was, 13 years old, on a big plane, the first Boeing 747 I've ever seen that close, leaving from Amsterdam to Toronto. When I came back, I had so much stories to tell. And of course, it was difficult to relate with other 13 years olds.
No kidding. Brave and bold, and you were dedicated to your own creativity at 10, 11, 12, and 13. I hope you bought a present for grandma. I hope you gave her.
Oh, I did. At the time you could still buy ashtrays.
You need to do some stand up, even though we're sitting down. That was a good one, Marcel. That was a really, really good line. Thank you very much. Let's go to the opening quotes. I've asked each of you to please send me a fictional quote from a movie or a TV show or a song lyric that you're going to relate to your own creativity. And I'm starting with Armida, and Armida has picked a classic here. It's from Forrest Gump, played by Tom Hanks, of course, 1994 American comedy drama film directed by Robert Zemeckis and written by Eric Roth, based on a 1986 novel by Winston Groom. I'll read your quote, Deborah. You don't need to spend that. It was the top grossing film of 1994 and it earned $677 million. Now that was 31 years ago. Can you imagine? The soundtrack sold 12 million copies, Armida. It won 6 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Tom Hanks, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Visual Effects, Best Film. Here is the quote. I added a little more to it. I filled it out. And the quote is, "My mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get." Deborah, let me get through it before you laugh at me. Armida, please tell us what this has to do with your creativity. Go ahead. I was watching Deborah's expression. You cracked me up. Armida, go.
So first of all, yes, that's one of my favorite movies. I have watched it a zillion times. I know all the songs. I practically know all the lines. So it's just a good feel movie. But I love that quote because never in my life did I ever think that I would be a children's author. Never in my life did I think that I would be a teacher, that I would open up a movie theater, that I would be a realtor. These are things that they were never in my radar, never. And yet you move through life and you have experiences and opportunities lend themselves. And if you're brave enough, and I'm fortunate that, I have a very supportive husband of 49 years, who's always been very encouraging. And all we have to do is just step out of our comfort zone just a little and be totally amazed, totally surprised at what life will put before us.
There you go. That was beautifully done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Deborah. Deborah has picked another iconic quote. This is number 35 on the American Film Institute's top 100 movie quotes ever, 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 Deborah. It's from the movie Jaws. It was stated by the actor Roy Scheider. A lot of people want to say Schneider. No, there's no N, it's Scheider. 1975, it just celebrated its 50th anniversary. It's directed by Spielberg. Who else? Based on the novel, 1974 novel by Peter Benchley. Okay, here's the deal. I'm going to read this in just a second here, the line. But the line was ad-libbed by Roy Scheider,
Yes.
according to the Hollywood Reporter. The filming was troubled. It was on the water, and the crew was working off a barge that had equipment. It had the craft services, meaning how they would eat, and a smaller boat. They kept complaining to the producers. The boat was too small, the support boat, which was how they coined the phrase. Richard Zanuck and David Brown were very stingy producers. So the actors and everyone kept saying, here's the line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." Now, it became a catchphrase. It was not in the movie. If lunch was late, you're going to need a bigger boat. If the waves were rocking the camera, you're going to need a bigger boat. So apparently, Roy Scheider started saying it in the takes, meaning the filming. And one ad lib was right after Chief Brody first has his confrontation with the shark. The timing was so perfect. There was a woman who was the editor, Verna Fields. She decided to leave it in, and it made movie history. You're gonna need a bigger boat. I love that story. It's one of the most popular quotes my guests on all of my shows pick, and I never get tired of it. Deborah, what does this have to do with your creativity? Go ahead.
Well, having to get a bigger boat was a necessity, apparently. And necessity has always driven my creativity. But I have to confess one other thing about this quote. It really exemplifies me as a mother because my children call me the worst case scenario mom. If I can see that shark coming, I'll tell you before anybody else sees it because it's my imagination. And that drives creativity for me because I got to fix the problem. I got to make it better.
That's right. How many times have you seen the movie?
Oh, many. My son was a horror and science fiction publisher, and from childhood, he loved anything scary many times.
Very interesting. I don't think there's anybody alive who doesn't know da 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 da, da, right? It's just become there. Thank you very much. And Marcel, you had the wrong attribution for the quote, but the quote is beautiful. I did spend a lot of time, I'll tell you,
Okay.
a lot of time. You thought it was from
The Lion King, I thought.
It's not. No, I'll tell you where it's from. The quote is spoken by Prince Zuko, voiced by an actor named Dante Basco, when imagining what Uncle Iroh, Iroh, voiced by the actor who's no longer with us, Mako, would say in Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's the movie. Marcel. It's it's a TV show, Nickelodeon's animated TV series from 2005 to 2008. This was from season 3, episode 12, The Western Air Temple. It aired on July 14th, 2008. I do my homework, kids. I really do. And I have a blast looking these up. The Last Airbender is set in an Asian inspired world where people known as benders can manipulate the elements water, earth, fire, and air. But only one person, the Avatar, which is the main title of the movie, can control all four and bring peace to a war torn world. However, the current incarnation of the Avatar, it's a 12-year-old boy named Aang, A-A-N-G, the last survivor of the air nomads. He was a long way before he could master all four elements. So somebody named Zuko, Prince Zuko, is imagining in a certain situation, what would Uncle Iroh, who was this, he was older, he was friendly, he had good humor, he was relaxed, he loved to flirt with women. He was quite old apparently, and people thought he was handsome, and he was a very interesting character. So Zuko is thinking, what would Iroh say? And here's the quote. Zuko, you must look within yourself to save yourself from your other self. That's the quote you sent me, Marcel. So I kept the quote I just found. I looked under Lion King and it wasn't there. So Marcel, what does this beautiful quote have to do with your creativity? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, it shows that I still love cartoons.
There you go. Very well put. And what about looking in yourself and the other part of yourself? Who are
Well,
you?
I thought this quote perfectly captures the essence of creative self-liberation. You know, there isn't a fixed map in life. There's only this courage, to wander and to listen deeply to your own inner music, to your own inner voice. And that's what I live every day. I believe when you're looking within, the answers will flow out.
Interesting. And when you apparently in the stories you told me, your bio you sent me, Marcel, as a 10-year-old, as a 13-year-old, as a young teen, you knew what the elephant in the room was. You knew what people were really thinking. Can you just give us a little more about what this does for you, this knowing that part of the other part of the self? Just give me a little more. I'm interested.
Yes, when you're a little bit, we say in Dutch, when you're a weird duck in the pond, maybe the same expression in English, automatically you are going in some sort of, defense. And certainly when you're in a younger age, you're trying to conform to the group. But while doing this, you're becoming aware, actually, that you are, first and for all, a little strange. But on the other side, you're also becoming aware of what others think is normal. And by that time, when I was pretty young, I think between 6 and 10 years old, I remember I was going first, second grade, that I was already seeing all these other kids in school. And, to me, as a little Dutch boy in Belgium, they looked all behaving the same. And so I thought, what is truth? What is real? What is honest? And what is fake? And those became my elephants in the room.
Very, very interesting. I want to thank all three of you for your very thoughtful quotes, and let's see if we can get a little applause track going here. Let's see. There we go. I love my sound effects. I just have to find them. There's only 20 of them. There you go. And we might have a little bit. Let's see. Somebody else wants to say something. See, she was really, 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 yes, I know. And then we might have to get a, there we go. So that's how I say thank you for the quotes. Okay. Forgive me for that. It was Jordan's idea that I get sound effects. Jordan, I'm having way too much fun with them. I just have to find them. So now let's move to your creativity statements. I asked each of you for 4. These are interesting. I'll pick 1 or 2 from each of you. You don't have to find them. And I'll ask you to unpack. Now, we're going to turn this into a real round table. So I'll read. Armida, I've got 2 from you I'm going to read, and I'd like you to take a minute or 2 or 3 to just tell us what this means to you. And then Debra and Marcel, If you would like to comment, here's the deal. Raise, I think you each have 10 fingers. It really doesn't matter. Raise one of the polite fingers and wiggle a polite finger at me. I don't answer to the middle one. You know, you
I
understand.
know.
I know, you've seen the show. Anyway, so just wiggle a finger and you don't have to comment, but it would be nice to know if this resonates with you or if you do something different on the points that Armida is going to talk about. So here we go. Armida, I'm going to combine two of these. You say, if and when an idea jumps at me, I try not to rush it, but instead I just sit with it. And then you say, we got some nods here. Then you say, I find early mornings, 2 to 3 a.m., best for writing. My mind is not so crowded. We want to know when you sleep, lady. So, Armida, go ahead and tell us a little more, please. Armida, you're up.
So, as a retired educator, you could take naps whenever, so or you could sleep whenever. So, so I find that when I fall asleep, when I get started getting sleepy, that's like the best time to go to bed when you start feeling sleepy. So I just go to bed, and it could be sometimes 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm sleepy. I'm going to bed. So hence I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's my mind is just really there's some clarity there. And just I started meditating a couple of years, several years ago, actually. And I find that if I don't rush any thoughts or any ideas, if I don't have a preconceived notion of what I'm going to be thinking about or working on, then things, the universe puts things in my path that I never even imagined. And so it just really gives me a lot of clarity and just like I said, just some newness in thoughts that were never even on the radar for me.
Very interesting. Any comments from our other friends there, Marcel or Debra? Oh, I see a wiggle finger. Okay, let me
It's
see
a
that
wiggle
wiggle.
finger.
It's a wiggle finger. Okay,
A wiggle
Marcel.
finger.
Marcel, what do you want to say?
Well, I just want to say that I do believe that creativity doesn't need an agenda, doesn't need, creative happens at the moment. And whether it's at night, always is the right time. So I totally agree.
It's always the right time. Armida, are you waking up at 2 or 3 to do this, or you just happen to be awake at that time? I'm curious.
No, I just automatically wake up. No alarm,
You do.
no alarm,
Interesting.
just automatically wake up. But
Interesting.
then
Yeah.
around 5 o'clock, I'm ready for a nap. Five
Yep.
o'clock in the morning. So I take a nap.
I woke up at 4:40 this morning. I have no idea why. And instead of getting upset, and I went back to bed. I keep some stuffed animal. I live alone. Keep some wonderful little stuffed animals on the next pillow, and the others in a big bed. And I just lay there. I bought a comforter by mistake about 2 years ago, 3 ago when I moved in, and it's red with velvet with a pattern in it, and it's a weighted blanket. Marcel, I didn't know they made blankets that are so heavy you need two hands to lift them. It's apparently to comfort people who have some emotional problems. It didn't say so on the package. It was Wayfair. And it arrives, and I'm saying, how am I supposed to even lift this thing out of them? Well, I got to tell you, it's one of the best things I bought in years. Every day when I make the bed, I do make my bed every day. I go on the other side of the bed and I run my hands smooth over the velvet to just smooth out that side of the bed. It is so comforting and so calming, whether I make the bed early in the morning or in the afternoon, I always make it. But my point was saying, Armida, I went back to bed and I just pulled that red cover right up to my neck, and I just lay there on my back. And I just thought, I like my bed. I like the gauze canopy over the bed. I'm happy being here. I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm just going to relax and I'm going to go back to sleep when I'm ready. And I did. And it was a lovely, and I very rarely have that kind of peace. But for some reason, I felt extraordinarily peaceful at 4:40. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning. So maybe I should have
Wonderful.
got I worked on my novel yesterday, so maybe that was why I felt some kind of peace. Deborah, any late night thoughts about what you do?
Well, first, I would say I totally agree with your concept of handling your need for sleep. I have the advantage of being semi-retired as well, and if I wake up at 2 or 3, I just go, okay, well, what do I want to do? And then when I get tired, I go back to bed. I don't fight it. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think we need to honor what our
Yes.
body's telling us.
Yes. Very well put. Marcel, when do you sleep? We're getting personal here, kid.
Well, I can tell you, I'm not sleeping now.
What time is it there?
It
Uh-oh,
is 11:30
at night.
at night. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you
Now,
for staying up.
about sleep, and since you're talking to European, did you know that in the Middle Ages, people were actually sleeping in two phases? And that is only after, I believe it happened in the 17th, 18th century, when people started to sleep a whole night during the Industrial Revolution. But before, in the Middle Ages, when it was getting dark, people went to bed, they slept, and around midnight they woke up, they started, reading, they started going out, talking to their neighbors, and by 2, 3 o'clock they went back to bed. And this is something in history that we have forgotten. So, knowing that there is no guilt feeling when all of a sudden you're waking up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock at night, you know, it's healthy.
Isn't that interesting? Well,
Interesting.
thank you. Thank you, Dr. Marcel. I appreciate that very much. There we go. I'm
It's
going
just
to,
Marcel.
well, I know, but you just became our sleep doctor at that point. So I
Oh,
just
thank you very
I want
much.
to honor you. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, sir. Okay. Now I want to go to Deborah. Deborah, you sent me four really, really interesting, very rich comments about your creativity, but I'm going to go to the third one about landscape design and gardening because it's summer here and I have a beautiful garden. I bought a corner property. I bought my house over Zoom, by the way. I had never set foot in the state till the day I closed on the house. It was shock and amazement when I arrived and saw what I'd actually done. It was, Zoom just didn't do it. Anyway, so Deborah says, my grandmother lived a simple life that always included a flower garden. I moved a lot during childhood. We never lived in one place long enough to grow a garden. So being greeted by grandma's bright yellow saucer-shaped dahlias in zinnia was a treat. It brought a sense of consistency and predictability in my life, which I incorporated into my adult life when planning landscaping designs on our acre lot in Southern California. So I'd like to know what this gardening means to you and landscaping and what do you now we know the roots of your love of this, but what do you actually do? What do you design? What's important to you, Deborah?
I like to think in terms of the seasons, having something in bloom every season. In California, we're blessed to be able to do that. But I also think in terms of color palette. I like to see a rotation of colors as well, so I incorporate that into my design. But first of all, I always have to start with the big picture. I'm not somebody who can plant one thing and keep adding to it without an idea what the big picture is. I plan in advance which side's going to be the shade garden and the sunny one and the food garden. Uh, and with that big picture in mind, then I'll set out and I'm very strategic. It's part of being a nurse. We assess, we plan, we implement, and then we evaluate our progress. And if we need to make adjustments, we start over, reassess, come up with an assessment. So, following my grandma, I felt I needed that consistency in my life, and that's what gardening, even if it's just house plants. I've recently moved 4 times in 6 years. I don't have that acre anymore, but I have a small garden in the backyard, and I've planted lilies that come up in the spring, and it's just looking at what am I gonna see out the window every season of the year, and every window has to look out at something that's green or planted.
I love that. Any comments on that, Marcel or Armida? Anything? I have comments. Go ahead. Armida, you first, then Marcel, and then me. Go ahead. Armida, what do you think?
Can I hire you, Deborah?
You have a new career there, lady. Well put. Marcel, what do you want to say?
Well, I just want to completely agree because what's happened outside happens inside, and what's happens inside happens outside.
Oh, that was
And I think
nice.
flowers, gardens, it's love that.
Very nice. Well, my story is that whenever I pass a place in public, like my hair salon where I'm going Thursday, it's red day. No comment, please. They have big planters, big containers outside at the door of coleus plants, which have different types of red. Some of them have green veins on them. Some of them are dark red. Some of them are different. Some of them have big leaves. And these particular ones have huge leaves. So I always bring a baggie with a little tiny nail clipper scissors in it. And I told my hairdresser that I was going, because the owner puts these, and these are huge. These are huge plants. And I take a little cutting and I put it in the baggie. I live 3 miles away. I come home, put it in water, and it's wilted by the time I get home. 3 miles away in the heat, it is wilted. I'm apologizing to these cuttings. And so I rooted them in water, and then they're not long stems. They're just huge leaves that are very close to this little tiny stem that I cut. These aren't the leggy kind. They're very dense. So I found an old, beautiful glass. You could use it for a salad bowl, big one, about this big, this deep. And I put dirt in it and I watered the dirt and I made it soft. And then I gently put the stems with the new roots into it gently and then covered them very gently with the dirt. And it's on my kitchen table because I mostly eat at my desk or in the living room when I'm watching TV. And it is just gorgeous. It looks like a centerpiece. And these leaves, these huge leaves, are starting to stand up a little more and they're growing. And my whole windowsill in my kitchen, which looks out on the front porch, is cuttings from coleuses from places. Yeah, I don't buy, and I buy plants at the supermarket too, and they're doing very well, thank you. But I found out that you can take things like a juice bottle, special orange juice bottle or apple juice bottle, and cut it with very sharp scissors, cut off the top, don't hurt yourself, and put dirt in it, and it makes a very nice planter. You put little rocks in the bottom, and you don't need fancy schmancy ceramic planters to grow things. So, and then I had to find planters for the windowsill that were only 3 inches in diameter. That's a challenge. And I did. Amazon has these little trays with handles on them and 3 little tiny pots with a hole in the bottom. They're black and they're metal. And I replanted a lot of the coleus so that they sit on the sill and they're not going to go when you bring the blinds down at night. The plants go, whoop! And then I have dirt all over the floor. We don't want that. So anyway, I'm telling you all too much. But my property, Deborah, was planted by a man named Charlie who owned this house for 17 years before his children. He had an oops and he ended up in a home and then he passed away. He planted almost everything. And so, for some reason, nobody knows, he planted a magnolia tree in the middle of the lawn it's a 4-yard property on a corner. And the magnolia tree has leaves that fall off that look like frisbees. They could probably break a window, and you do not want that near anything. But anyway, all year long, that tree is now about 40 feet tall. I have hydrangeas. I have crepe myrtles. I have Japanese maples. I have hibiscus trees. I have roaming zinnias from a neighbor across the street whose zinnias seeds came over to my property 2 summers ago and planted an entire garden of zinnias at the side of my house. I had tomato plants that regrew the second year without my replanting them. They're gone now. I have got what do we call it? Leland pines that don't belong here. A lot of them have to be taken down. I've got evergreens. It's like
Beautiful.
it's like an arboretum here. It
Wow.
really is. So it's very, very pretty. So I ended up buying a third of an acre on a corner property that everybody sees. I have to keep it very nice. It costs a lot of money, but everybody sees it and everybody comments, but your lawn looks good. But your lawn looks dry. But the bird feeder doesn't look good. But the plant is dying. Anyway, yes, I do my best. Okay, it's in the budget. Marcel, I'm going to read your statement number 1, which was similar to some of the others you sent me, very, very beautiful. And I'd like you to tell us a little more about what it means. Marcel says, I create poetic language and symbolic reflections when I stop trying to control life and start listening to it. Raw, unfiltered, straight from the source. That's when the real magic shows up. Words that don't just describe something, but reveal something. They feel like memory, like truth waking up on the page. That's a whole poem, Marcel. That was
Yeah.
beautiful. That was
Thank
a
you.
wow. So why don't you spend a couple minutes unpacking this for us, and then we'll see if the ladies have anything to say. Go ahead.
Well, this actually is a little bit about what I told you before when I was, 6, 7, 8 years old. And ever since,
Oh, we lost you. Where'd you go?
I'm here.
You're here. Okay. For some reason, Deborah's mic took over. Something spot. Go ahead. Keep talking,
Okay.
please. Please talking. Well, you're back.
Okay, I'm back. I believe, what I tried to say when I was 6 to 10 years old, and I saw all these people behind me, around me, and actually I started seeing over the course when I was growing up how things in life, actually all have a meaning. And at the same time, when you're seeing these things in life, it brings up emotions. Emotions described as positive and emotions described as negative. But I came to a point when you're understanding that everything that happens in life happens for a reason. And it is always very easy to blame someone or something outside of yourself, giving away your control, giving away your creativity. Now, the moment that you understand that life itself is a poem, and what is poetry to me? Poetry is to describe an emotion where you cannot put a normal word in prosaic to describe what you're feeling, and then still the poem itself cannot always go to the same depth as you are feeling it, as you are sensing it. So in that way, life is a poem. Life is poetry. It is way beyond words to describe. And that is why I do believe that when you're coming across things in your life that at first sight you would say, oh my God, what's happening to me? That when you're taking a closer look in poetry of life, not necessarily in words, but in mind, in feeling, in sensing, then you can take a completely different view at it. And then you can say, I can change it. It has a meaning to me. And what does that mean? What's the symbolism behind that? And then life becomes so rich.
That's lovely. I can't say anything. Armida or Debra, you want to step in? Anything you want to say? Debra just pushed her mic out. Do you want to say something?
Not overly, other than I understand what you're saying. And I think the crux of it for me is that you have to be mindful to hear what life is trying to show you. I call it the universe. What is the universe telling me in my inner deep spirit? And that takes intention. You got to want to hear it. And sometimes it doesn't feel good. Those feelings are uncomfortable. But until you allow yourself to absorb it, you can't respond to it in a healthy way.
Interesting. Very interesting. I will tell you all that I watch a lot of French and Italian and other European detective procedural shows on TV, on MHC and BritBox. Yeah, the British ones are foreign too because you got to leave the subtitles on if they have a heavy English accent. And very often they have theme music to the series. I used to speak a lot of fluent French, so that's why I leave the titles out. I love to hear the language. I love to hear the spoken language. But the theme music, Marcel and Armida and Debra, speaks to me so much sometimes that I cry. And I hit the button that says skip the intro. It goes right through me. It awakens some either a memory or a thought or a poem thought, Marcel, something that means something to me. Or am I lonely? Or am I sad? Is that music bringing that out? And I have to be careful what music I listen to. And sometimes I'll let it go and I'll sit there and the tears will roll. So I think that's part of the poetry of our life too. Would you agree with that, Marcel?
I definitely do. And if you know that music is a vibration,
Yep.
and even if the instrument itself is reaching you on a conscious level, but on an unconscious level, there's so much often unconscious emotions as well, unconscious memories which we may have pushed back, pushed away.
Oh yeah.
And that's the beauty in poetry as well as in music, that sometimes it can just bring it back up.
Yep.
Either
Absolutely.
enjoy or work with it.
Yep. Sometime one day I'll work with it, but I know which shows and I know which music, and it's unlikely that it would affect me that way, but it does. What I'd like to do is read you some creativity quotes I've collected over the years, from not from me, but from famous voices. I'll just read these to you, and I think you'll all appreciate this. Rapunzel, voiced by Mandy Moore in the computer animated musical adventure fantasy comedy film 2010, Tangled, said the following: "Venture outside your comfort zone. The rewards are worth it." Uh-huh. I think that's what we're talking about. And then the Rolling Stones in 1969 said, "You can't always get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you'll get what you need." That's the key word. And then in The Wizard of Oz, 1939, the original one, Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, played by the actress Billie Burke, said, "You had the power all along, my dear." See, there we go. And let's see what else. Anybody get into the zone when you're writing or when you're doing anything? You get into that zone. I have a quote here from Kobe Bryant. And the quote was, "When you get in that zone, it's a supreme confidence. Things just slow down. You really do not try to focus on what's going on because you could lose it in a second. You really have to try to stay in the present. That's the mindfulness you were talking about, Deborah, and not let anything break that rhythm." So there you go. There you go. I want to read to you all. We have just a couple minutes left. I want to read to you one of my poems. You might, if you've heard the show before, you might heard this one, but I belong to an online poetry group at Writer's Digest, and we get a prompt from the moderator every Wednesday morning. During the months of April and November, we get, it's called PAD, a poem a day, and I write 3 to 5 poems every day for the month of April and the month of November. And then the rest of the year is just on Wednesdays. And there's a group of 30 or 40 poets. They're all English speaking, and I don't know where they're from or where they live, but we comment on each other's poetry with a thumb up or a little thumb up. We click or we leave comments. I love that, or that spoke to me. It's a community of poets, but I love to do acrostics, and I call mine Silly Wednesdays. And this one, the acrostic prompt was night shift. NIGHTSHIFT. That was the prompt. This was July 24th, 2024, so a little over a year ago. And I will read it and try to emphasize the line that starts with the N and the I and the G and the H and the T, okay? Never quite really at rest. It's the life of a creative. Going, gripping, gyrating, growling, groaning, growing, highs and lows, flowing on a mental Mobius strip. The days are the nights, are the days again, shifting off and on, into and out of gear, hoping for unique brilliance even once. It's a calling, command, curse, roller coaster, finding eureka, euphoria amid frustration, fears. Thus is the life of the creative.
Powerful.
Wow.
Yep, that was what I was thinking that particular day. You like that? Thank you very much. We've got about 2 minutes left before I have to close, but let's go around the table just briefly. 1 or 2 sentences, not with a lot of commas and semicolons and long em dashes. What would if somebody is saying, I'm not creative, I don't know what you're talking about, what would your advice to them be on how to find your creativity? Armida, do you want to do that? You don't have to, but I have time to just go around the table, 30 seconds apiece. Armida?
I would say turn things off, all the electronics, get outside of yourself, get outside of your world, go for a walk, you go for a hike, because it's when you clear all of that that you open yourself up to the universe.
Thank you very much. Deborah, thoughts?
I would say follow your passions. Your creativity and art does not have to be what it is to other people. Follow what's in you. It might be painting or drawing or stained glass or gardening. Just follow your passions. They're given to you to create delight.
Open the door to those passions. Let them in. You might not know you have passions. That's part of that too. Marcel, what are your thoughts?
Don't wait for the perfect moment or permission from anyone else. The key is already in your hand. Perhaps next to your cup of coffee sprinkled with cinnamon.
Peut-être, perhaps. I always tell people when I'm in this position or when I'm mentoring somebody, I will say, if there's a little bit of light coming in the window, open the window, open the blind, open the Venetian blind, whatever it is, crack open that window and see what's on the other side. There might be something exciting, could be scary, could be good, but it might open an opportunity. And the corollary to that is if you see a little crack open in the door, kick the damn door open and find out what's on the other side. Listen, I'm on my 9th career. I just started 3 new radio series about 6 months ago. I'm doing hundreds of shows a year, 7 a week now, speaking to really interesting people like all of you. This is my passion, Deborah. This is what I want to do, is talk to and learn and make space for creative, interesting people and find out what their passions are and give them a place to talk about it. So I'm going to let me close. I was so excited to talk to all of you. Okay, in 2014, this was my closing top 10 tips for women. I'm only going to read the first one, and this was interesting. Aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. That was 10 years before the movie. Closing words. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Not yet. Kiss slowly. Always. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Laugh with me. 1, 2, 3. Not bad. Not bad. And never, ever, ever regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no
Amen.
one's dance like no one's watching, but when I was teaching dancing, everybody watched. Sing like nobody's listening. I tried not to sing today. Love like you've never been hurt. We all have been. Let your heart regenerate, regrow, get healthy again, and love again. Money talks, chocolate sings, la. And last but not least, I stole this line from a host many, many, many years ago, and I never apologized. Thank you for turning me on. Radio Red signing off. Don't go away, guests. We are going to, let me see if I can find the closing here. Don't go away. We're going to sit and talk for a few minutes.
On Read My Lips Radio, producer and host, aka Radio Red, invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people as she discovers what makes them tick, where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion, and how their creative process can inspire the rest of us to think out of the box. Enjoy, aka Radio Red's always lively, cool conversations with creatives. Oh, how those lips can talk.
There we go. Thank you all for watching, and let's close out this party.